Welcome back. Today we are tackling what I think is one of the most uh, stressful, frustrating, and just universal problems out there.
Yeah,
Learning a new language,
yeah.
specifically English. I mean,
Mhm.
if you have ever felt that crushing weight of endless vocabulary lists, spent years studying grammar rules, only to freeze up, completely panic when a native speaker asks you something simple like, "What did you do over the weekend?"
Oh, yeah.
Then this deep dive is absolutely fundamentally for you.
That feeling is, it's so real, that intense internal conflict,
Uh-huh.
where your brain knows the definition of some sophisticated, high-level word, maybe meticulous or ubiquitous, but it completely fails to organize three simple sentences about your afternoon plans.
Yes.
That right there, that's the language learning trap. It's the gap between knowing about the language and actually being able to use it.
Exactly. And we are diving into source material today that proposes a seemingly unbelievable, almost revolutionary solution. And I love this idea because it just flips the entire traditional learning script on its head.
Right.
The central question we're exploring is this. What if you could achieve reliable conversational fluency? I mean, real confidence, automatic understanding, and the ability to just express yourself using only 500 core English words.
Just 500, it sounds too simple almost.
It does.
I think the mission today is to completely reset expectations for everyone listening. We're unpacking the argument that you need to forget what you thought you knew about learning English.
Okay.
We're saying ditch the complex grammar drills, abandon those endless, soul-crushing vocabulary lists. The sources we looked at promise a smart, focused, and profoundly practical path to mastering English much faster,
How?
simply by building a solid foundation rather than, a massive, unorganized library of words you can't use.
So if we strip away all the noise and get right to the core of what the sources are teaching us, what is the key insight? What are most people missing?
It means we're targeting a critical error that most learners make. They confuse recognition of words.
Right, like seeing the word abundant in a textbook and knowing what it means.
Exactly. They confuse that with the automatic, unthinking ability to actually use that word quickly in a real conversation.
So it's not about what you know, it's about how fast you can use what you know.
It's all about retrieval speed.
Mm.
It's not about how many exotic words you can define when you have 30 seconds to think. It's about how fast, how instantaneously you can deploy the words you already know to form a thought without conscious effort.
That speed, that automatic deployment, that's fluency.
That's it. If you're slowing down to translate in your head, you're not fluent yet.
Okay, let's unpack this with some real weight. Let's jump right into segment one. The fluency illusion, why quantity fails. We really need to dissect this misconception that knowing a lot of words equals being a good speaker.
I think this segment gets right to the emotional heart of the frustration. I like to call it the big library, no reading problem.
A big library, no reading problem. I like that.
It's a very common scenario we've all seen, or, maybe you, the listener, have experienced it yourself.
I have heard this so many times. It is a pattern that just repeats endlessly. A learner comes forward, and they're often quite proud, and they'll say, I've been studying for 5 years. I know 3,000 English words. I have flashcards for every single one.
They can pass a written test, no problem.
Right. But then you hit them with a simple, personal, unstructured question like, hey, what's up? How's the family? And they just seize up. They panic. The conversational gears just grind to a halt.
And that panic is rooted in sheer cognitive overload. It's the result of believing that quantity is the goal. The words are technically known. They're stored somewhere in the brain's massive, disorganized library, but they are utterly unusable in the high-pressure, real-time chaos of a conversation.
It's like they're just sitting on a shelf collecting dust.
Precisely. The sources we reviewed described it perfectly. It's exactly like owning a gigantic library that holds every classic novel, but you haven't actually learned how to read the alphabet fast enough to process a single sentence. You know the potential of the library, but you can't use it instantly.
It's so inefficient and overwhelming. But here's where it gets really interesting, because this isn't just an observation. Linguists have backed this up with hard data.
Yes. The linguistic data on frequency.
Okay, what does it say?
This statistic, for me, is the foundational piece of this entire deep dive. It completely reframes the challenge. Linguists who study corpus data, these massive collections of spoken and written language, suggest that the 500 most common English words cover approximately 65% of all everyday spoken speech.
Wait, 65%. So nearly 2/3 of what you hear in a daily conversation at a coffee shop, talking to a colleague, is covered by a tiny list you can learn in a few weeks.
That's what the data says.
Hmm.
It's profound.
That's mind-blowing.
Is. But let's dissect those 500 words for a moment. What are they? They are the glue. They're the scaffolding of the language. They are the pronouns, I, you, he, she, the common prepositions in, on, at, with, the articles, ich, and the highest frequency verbs, go, do, have, get, make.
So they're not fancy words. They're the simple functional words.
Exactly. They are low in meaning complexity, but incredibly high in usage frequency. They enable structure, tense, and basic communication.
Okay, I see the contrast now. A student might spend an hour learning the word perspicacious, which means insightful, a word they might hear once a year.
If that.
But that same hour spent deeply mastering the word get, learning all its different phrasal variations, that immediately covers hundreds of daily uses.
Exactly. You are swapping a rare academic word for the fundamental infrastructure of the language. And the source material highlights that if you simply add another 500 words, pushing your total to 1,000, your coverage of everyday speech jumps to nearly 90%.
90%. So you're telling me that the vast majority of daily conversations, managing social stuff, ordering food, describing your day, can be handled by deeply mastering just 1,000 words.
That's the argument. This shifts the entire goal from the impossible task of I need to memorize the dictionary to the achievable goal of I need to master 1,000 core words.
But here's the major hurdle, and you mentioned it earlier. Learners don't trust simplicity. This brings us right into the trap of complexity.
It does.
Because I want to challenge this a little. If I only use 500 words, won't I sound like a child? Won't I sound simple? Learners seek out those huge books called 4,000 Essential Words because the difficulty feels like progress.
That is the crucial emotional block, and it's a valid fear. But the sources address it head on. They argue that if your foundation is weak, adding complex words actually makes you sound worse.
How so?
It slows down your processing speed. You might have the word perspicacious ready to go, but if you struggle to link the sentence with because and the and is, the whole sentence just collapses.
So that brings us back to the house analogy you mentioned.
Precisely. Think of fluency as building a house. If the base, the foundation, is weak, meaning your automatic ability to form short, easy sentences with words like go, do, have, it doesn't matter how beautiful the upper floors are.
The fancy vocabulary.
Right. You can have all the meticulous finishes, but the structure is unstable. When the pressure of a real conversation hits, the whole thing shakes.
So complexity, ironically, slows us down because we're trying to put advanced ideas on a base that can't support them.
Exactly. We need to simplify the target to build foundational strength. When you restrict yourself to those 500 core words, you are giving your brain the chance to build solid automatic foundations. Those short, easy sentences aren't just baby steps. They are your foundation stones.
Okay, I love that reframing. It's a complete paradigm shift. Stop trying to fill a huge library and just focus on making the few essential books you have instantly accessible.
And that organization leads us directly into our next segment. It's not just about what words you study, but how you study them.
Fantastic. Let's move into segment 2. Mastery through chunks owning your core vocabulary. This is where we get into how the brain actually processes and stores language, which is so different from how we're taught in school.
What's fascinating here is the core mechanism of language storage, which is all about pattern recognition. The brain doesn't actually store language as separate, isolated items like a dictionary.
No.
No, it stores patterns. It stores common word groups that habitually appear together. Linguists call these lexical phrases, or more simply, chunks.
We do this in our native language without even thinking about it.
Yeah.
We don't consciously assemble, how are you doing? We just say the whole phrase as one unit.
Exactly. But a learner who is translating word for word is constantly fighting against that natural flow.
So give me an example.
Let's use a great high-frequency example from the sources, the word take. If you only learn take as to carry, you will sound incredibly awkward in, like, 90% of real conversations.
Right, because we use it in phrasal combinations where the meaning is totally different.
Precisely. Mastery comes not from knowing the single definition of take, but from learning the combinations, the chunks. Take your time, which means don't rush. Take care, which is a way of saying goodbye.
Take a look, take a chance, take a break.
Take responsibility. The meaning of take changes entirely depending on the word that follows it. You have to learn take care as a single, indivisible unit of meaning.
And suddenly, English starts to feel alive and flexible. Your mouth and your brain remember the whole phrase together instantly, which means you don't have to pause and translate.
That is the fundamental difference between simple memorization and true mastery. And this brings us to a crucial concept.
Hmm.
The difference between knowing a word and truly owning it.
Okay, what's the difference?
Knowing a word means you can give its definition. Ownership, however, means you can use it automatically and instinctively in 5 different contexts without thinking. It's a reflex.
Let's use another example from the material, make. If you just know make, you can define it as to create.
Right. But if you own it, you instinctively use it in chunks. You don't think, I need to assemble a meal. You just think, make dinner.
It's a shortcut.
They are the shortcuts. Think about make breakfast, make money, make a mistake, make friends, make time, make sense. If you only learn the core meaning of make, and you hear someone say, that doesn't make sense, you'll spend 5 seconds trying to figure out what creation has to do with logic.
But if you own the chunk makes sense,
Yeah.
it's instant comprehension.
Mm-hmm. And what about the word get? I mean, that word is the ultimate chameleon in English.
Absolutely.
Get is the perfect illustration of why simple translation fails. You have to learn the phrasal verbs as separate units. Learning get up, get ready, get better, get tired, get lost, get along, get back. Each of those is a separate high-utility tool.
So native speakers live inside these chunks, as the material says.
They do. And by focusing your learning on these small, high-frequency groups, you immediately sound more natural because you're using the language the way it's actually used.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, we are talking about the science of automaticity. This is the neurological term for what we're trying to achieve, right?
Yes. When you practice the same core patterns and chunks every single day, your brain physically builds these neurological structures that scientists call fluency pathways.
Okay, so let's talk about the neuroscience for a second.
Speaking at first feels like trying to run through mud. You're using the conscious analytical part of your brain to translate, which is slow and it drains energy. But when you repeat the same 500 words in their chunks daily, you are essentially paving that road.
You're strengthening the neural connection.
Exactly. You are activating the same circuit over and over. Think of it like a path through a dense forest. The first time you walk it, it's hard. By the 100th time, the path is clear and you can practically run down it.
So your brain stops the hard work of translating and just reacts.
It starts reacting instantly. The cognitive load drops. It essentially becomes muscle memory for your tongue, your lips, and your brain.
It's the same reason I can type without looking at the keyboard. I'm not thinking, okay, my pinky needs to hit the A key.
That's automaticity, and language works the same way. Once those core 500 words and their chunks are automatic, you've achieved conversational fluency because your brain is running the conversation on autopilot.
So you're freeing up your brain to focus on the message you want to send, not the mechanics of how to say it.
That's the goal.
That brings us perfectly to the how. How do we actually do this? Let's move into segment 3, the 4-step builder's plan. And it's a fantastic step-by-step blueprint.
This plan is highly practical. It starts with step 1. Choose and personalize your core words.
Okay.
The starting point is universal. Find a list of the 500 most common English words. You can find these online easily. But the real magic, the step that makes this work, is the personalization.
Right, because connecting words to your actual life gives them emotional resonance. The brain remembers what's relevant. A random word is forgotten. A word connected to your job is a priority.
Absolutely. The sources mandate that you tailor the list. If you're a nurse, just learning the word help isn't enough. You need to connect it to your life. Patient, hospital, medicine, rest, shift.
Or if you love cooking, your core words have to include taste, boil, chop, recipe.
Exactly. You take the generic list of 500 words and you overlay it with your personal high-frequency needs. This means you're learning the words you will actually use tomorrow, not just ones in a textbook.
That makes so much sense. Okay, then we move to step 2. Learn deeply. Always in context. We've touched on this, but let's nail it down. Never study a word alone.
Never. Don't just write, arrive, come to a place, and think you've learned it. The brain has no context for retrieval.
So what's the right way?
You embed that word in a full, personalized sentence. Instead of a definition, you write, I usually arrive home at 6, or the train arrived late today. This forces you to use the correct word order and understand its function.
And this step emphasizes multisensory practice. The mandate is to say it, hear it, and feel it. Why is that so important?
It's about strengthening those neural pathways we talked about. When you say the sentence aloud, you engage motor memory. Your mouth learns the physical sensation. When you hear it, by recording yourself or just listening to yourself, you reinforce the sound pattern.
It's like you're triple tagging the memory for instant retrieval. Input from the eyes, the ears, and the mouth.
It creates a powerful feedback loop. The more senses are involved, the faster the learning moves from the conscious part of your brain to the automatic part.
Okay, step 3 is about connection and creation, which I think is where the foundational work really starts to pay off. The natural growth method.
This is where we stop thinking of words as isolated bricks and start using them to build walls. You combine the words you already own to build complexity naturally.
Let's run through the detailed example from the material to make this clear. Imagine you've mastered the core words go, work, early, because, and traffic.
Those 5 simple words can be combined into a perfectly functional, fluent sentence. I go to work early because of traffic. It's simple, yes, but it communicates a complex idea effectively. It's correct, and it's fast to retrieve.
Okay, that's your first brick.
That's a solid load-bearing brick. And the next day, you don't leap to some crazy, complex sentence. You just naturally expand it using 2 new, personalized words, say, train and ticket.
So you could say,
Now you can say, I go to work early because the train ticket is cheaper than driving in the traffic. See how the vocabulary grows without forced memorization? You're just talking about your actual life.
this is a huge liberating takeaway. You stop feeling like you're studying a foreign language and start feeling like you're just describing your reality in a new way.
Precisely. And once you start building those sentences, you need a way to practice putting them together. That leads to step 4, the tiny story exercise.
This is the practical application. Once a week, you write, or even better, speak a tiny story using your current core vocabulary. Why a story?
Because a story forces the automatic use of sequencing, tense, and connectors. It simulates real conversation, which is never just a list of facts. It has a beginning, a middle, and an end.
So give me an example of what this story could sound like, using only core words.
The example provided is so simple, yet so powerful. It starts. Yesterday, I went to the supermarket. I bought fruit, bread, and milk. I walked home and cooked dinner. I felt tired but good. Then I watched TV for a short time.
Every single word in there is common core vocabulary. But together, they create a real, fluent, descriptive piece of communication.
This is what the real English build on real frequency. It means you're not just defining words, you are operating in English. You can hold a narrative thread, which is what most human communication is.
Okay, moving from the practical steps to the emotional side of this, let's discuss segment 4, building confidence and the snowball effect.
This is where we look at the psychological landscape of learning.
We have to acknowledge the inner struggle first. Language learning is so often tied to feeling vulnerable. You feel stuck, embarrassed, or just slow. The voice in your head says, I've studied for years and I still sound terrible.
That feeling is completely normal. It's the anxiety that comes from cognitive overload, but the 500-word shortcut is designed specifically to dismantle that pressure. When you focus on just 500 words, the overwhelming pressure of the dictionary it disappears.
You stop feeling like you're climbing an endless mountain.
And you realize you're walking a clear, simple path with a known destination. That simplicity brings calm and, crucially, a sense of control.
And the mindset shift is self-reinforcing. Confidence grows through small successes.
Yes, we have to celebrate every small win. Did you order your coffee correctly? Did you understand that short video without subtitles? Did you tell your tiny story without pausing?
Those small wins are the objective proof that you're making progress. You stop saying, my English is bad, and you start saying, my English is getting better.
That positive emotional change, the shift from shame to pride, is essential for long-term commitment. And this philosophy perfectly mirrors the 80-20 rule, the Pareto principle, applied to fluency.
So 80% of your results come from 20% of your effort.
Right. And in English, that 20% of high-leverage effort is focusing on the core vocabulary, the 500 to 1,000 words that carry 90% of the conversational weight.
So it's like the cooking analogy again.
Exactly. A great chef knows hundreds of exotic ingredients, but most of their amazing recipes rely on a core set: salt, pepper, oil, garlic, onion.
These are your 500 words.
They're your core ingredients. Once you know how to use them well, how to combine them, season them with the right tense, everything you say starts to taste good.
Wow.
You're not spreading your energy thin anymore.
This deep focus brings us back to consistency. Why is a short daily practice so much better than cramming for hours once a week?
Consistency tells your brain, at a fundamental level, this is important. Keep it active. Keep it accessible.
But people are busy. How can they integrate this without burning out? That really manageable 15-minute plan.
Yes, the 555 structure, it's genius because it's so low stress.
So in the morning, 5 minutes. Review yesterday's sentences out loud. Do this while you're making coffee or on your commute.
In the afternoon, another 5 minutes. Passively listen to a short English clip, a TikTok, a YouTube short. The goal is just observation. Notice how often your core 500 words appear. It validates your work.
And in the evening, the final 5 minutes, tell a 1-minute story about your day. Record yourself on your phone, listen back, and fix just one small thing.
That's 15 minutes total, less time than you spend scrolling social media. For 90 days, guarantees an observable internal shift in your English proficiency.
And that consistency ties directly into the science of motivation. Let's talk about the chemical reward system in our brain. Dopamine.
Dopamine is the key. The learning process should be a pleasure, not a punishment. Every time you finish a small, achievable, goal-like mastering 10 chunks or finishing that 1-minute story, your brain releases a small surge of dopamine.
It's the brain's way of saying, good job, that felt good, let's do it again tomorrow.
It creates a self-sustaining loop. Short, simple tasks feel like guaranteed success. You feel proud. So you stop forcing yourself to study, which leads to burnout, and you start wanting to study because your brain associates it with a positive reward.
And this leads to the ultimate payoff.
Yes.
The snowball effect.
Yes. As your foundation of 500 words strengthens and becomes automatic, everything accelerates. New, low-frequency words become infinitely easier to acquire because you can guess their meaning from context. You already know how English works.
So the learning process gets faster over time, not slower.
The analogy holds true. You start with a small snowball. At first, you have to push it, and progress is slow. But after a while, it gets bigger, picks up momentum, and soon it's rolling by itself, getting bigger and bigger with no effort.
That is the moment of liberation. That's when you stop studying English and start living in English. You understand that Instagram comment, you catch the lyrics in a song, you start thinking in English.
That ultimate freedom is the fluency reward, and it all starts with this simple, focused plan.
Okay, we've covered the why, the what, and the how. Let's wrap up by reviewing the 3 key mistakes to avoid and giving you a clear, achievable action prompt.
First, let's review the mistakes we have to consciously avoid, starting today. Mistake number 1. Learning lists without sentences. We cannot stress this enough. If you write down a word without context, you will forget it. Always use a full, personalized sentence.
Mistake number 2. Not speaking enough. So many people wait until they feel 100% ready before they open their mouths. That perfectionism is the enemy. You learn to speak by speaking. Talk to yourself in English. Narrate your actions. I'm closing the door. I'm cooking dinner.
And mistake number 3. Studying too many words at once. Stop chasing quantity. 10 new words a day, learn deeply, is more than enough. It is far, far better to own 10 words than to just know 50 words you'll forget by tomorrow.
So what's the immediate homework? The action prompt starts right now as soon as this deep dive finishes.
Take a notebook or open a note on your phone. Write down 10 very common English words. Use the suggested list. Go, do, have, get, want, people, time, good, see, say.
Now, in 5 minutes, make one short, personal paragraph using those words. Something simple like, today was a good day. I got up early and had breakfast. I went to work and saw some new people. I want to see what I can do with my time later. I feel good.
The essential task is to read that paragraph aloud 3 times. Say it slowly and clearly. Tomorrow, add 5 new words, maybe lock, rain, busy, tired, friend, and make a new, slightly more complex paragraph.
Do this exact 15-minute routine every single day for 50 days. It is simple, it is low stress, but the results are incredibly powerful. After 50 days, you won't just know over 500 words, you will have used them in your own personal stories dozens of times.
And because they are personalized and have been practiced in context, they will stay in your brain forever. They become the automatic foundation for everything else.
So let's look ahead. What does the fluency reward look like 1 year from now if you commit to this?
Yeah.
Let's visualize the goal.
Imagine it's 2026. You check your phone and read a complicated work email in English. You understand it, and you reply instantly, "Good morning. I'm busy but excited about the project." Without having to pause or translate in your head, you just write.
Travel. You go to a cafe and you order coffee, talk about the weather, ask for a recommendation fluently. You ask someone for directions, and you understand their fast colloquial answer immediately. You laugh at jokes in an English video because you're fast enough to keep up. You don't feel lost or scared or embarrassed anymore.
And this raises an important final thought. Why does this matter beyond just communication? Fluency is about far more than grammar. It's about freedom. The freedom to travel, the freedom to connect with people globally on your own terms, the freedom to advance your career, and the ultimate freedom to express exactly who you are without the fear of being misunderstood or the shame of freezing up.
And realizing that such profound personal freedom starts with mastering just 500 core words through simple, consistent daily practices. It's one of the most powerful insights we've ever covered.
Yeah.
Start today. Pick those 10 words, create your paragraph, and speak it aloud 3 times. Thank you for joining us for this deep dive.